Africans come here. You are lucky. I don't know if you've seen you know one of our panelists, forefathers. he was and then he talk about trying to move Africans away from Africa to the West. Yeah, but I certainly hope.
3, why the choice of London? This is an indication of, for want of a better word, of a neo-colonial mentality. Any major meeting in Nigeria affecting Nigeria affairs, our leaders will jump into the aircraft and they are going to London. It's as if some people are genetically, umbilically tied to the, imperial attachment, colonial attachment to London. It's as if they think better when they are somewhere on the streets of London. And maybe it's a psychological deficit. Let us go to London.
Ruben, but there are other things they do in London.
Well, yes, they also go there for medical checkup.
They see their doctors while holding meetings also.
Because we don't have,
which is also
hospitals,
an indictment of the political class.
That can do it here in...
Please watch your comments. Watch your comments where you're typing, because YouTube is been saying we should respect the community standard. To Niger said, barely 700 years ago, Africans were buying and selling white slaves. About 120 years ago, England were selling wives in the marketplace. Things can quickly change. Why do we think that things will not change again? The world is just a rolling, and anything that happened can still happen again. Okay, I mean, I was just reading that that comment out to us. It's so powerful for us to know that, yeah, if it happened like that, why can't it happen again? You understand? So thank you very much, Niger. And good, yeah. Elena, I think you still have to repeat that number, and Gerald, your session going. But over to you, Elena. What about that?
Sure. So going back to your question, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Let me reflect on what I wanted to say. But Jenny destabilized me a bit. I was enjoying what she was saying. But yes.
Wait. Enjoy this other one. I mean, of course, you guys all are reading the comments. Look at what
100% agree with you. To ask that, is Africa really ready? And that goes to the people who believe that things they happen analog or it happen all of a sudden. No, nothing happened from the blue. There's nothing happen spontaneously. The question is that, are we ready? There's a preparation meets opportunity. That's what luck is about. Are we prepared? Are we ready? Are the Nigerian ready? Are the Gabonese ready? Or this is so that's the question that Rudolph, I see that you're asking there. And again, you went ahead to say why are why are France getting away with this? And that's where Tunanja comes into play here. We don't get nuclear weapon. So anybody can do and undo. If we get nuclear weapon, they will not judge the...
Hold on. Oh, okay, you just talk in a way that, sometimes it makes me mad. When you say we know gates, who gave the people that got it?
No, that's what I mean. I know those. I just talk. We get them.
We have no gates.
We don't get. Now we don't get. Say we don't get. We can say if you didn't they. We don't get. Oh, why you want to put that for my head? We don't get now. Sure.
If you had the ambition, if your goal is.
You ask the question, why are French getting away with what they are doing? I said because we don't get nuclear weapon. And that's
now we know gates. If that's the problem, why don't you get it? If that's why you are not independent, why don't you get it?
That's not the question you are asking, right? I'm responding to the question you asked. Why are they getting away with it? And I reference to Nigeria with his paranoians. And that's why I kind of respect him, right? They say only the paranoia survive, right? We don't get nuclear weapons, so anybody can come and dance and play as he or she wants, right? It don't happen before, it's happened again, it will happen again until we find a way. Then that's where that question now coming, why we no get, right? So that's a different question for another day. I think Paul says...
Greetings, everyone. This is not likely to be long at all. I'm just coming in to just make a statement regarding this quite important topic. because this is something that has been happening in many countries around the world. As a matter of fact, it's a phenomenon that is present in almost every country to a degree, but it seems to be very damaging within the African and specifically Black communities, and hence why this video is for the Black community and maybe generally tailored towards the Nigerian space. The reason why I say this is because of the examples that I've seen and looking at what has happened on the ground. It has given me a lot of sense of how we got here, how we got here, how we got into a country where even if we are rich in petroleum that's crude oil, we don't have enough petrol, we don't have enough diesel in the country, and we always suffer from energy issues. We have been independent for more than 60 years. We still don't have consistent power supply. You have a nation of 200 and something million people surviving on barely 5 gigawatts of electricity. And this nation is not under sanction. While Iran, that has been under sanction for the last 4 decades, can generate 70 gigawatts of electricity. That doesn't add up, does it? A nation where you have such insecurity going on, over 7,000 kidnappings in the last year or so, and you don't really see any real response from the leadership to address the issues like normal nations would do. And this same phenomenon is present not only on the African continent within the Black communities, it's actually present outside the continent too. You see that in Haiti, you see that in many Black countries. And for the life of me, I can't fully understand it, but this is one thing I've learned, is that we have to learn to start reading the science as a people if we are going to change this. I find that when people have discussions within the space, they spend a lot of time talking about issues and micro issues, like, oh, this person said this one said that one. It's almost like a form of grown-up gossip or manly gossip of other men, but this time in politics, we're talking about this one said this one, this one said that one. And we as a people miss the bigger picture of what is going on to our communities. And I think it's something that people should really be, they need to understand that this discourse that we're having gets us nowhere. It just gets us through time. But in reality, we are not changing much. We're just having conversations about somebody saying something, somebody said what, and those type of conversations doesn't change a nation, really. If it did, Nigeria will be transformed by now. We've been having these conversations for decades, and it still didn't change anything, did it? We've been warned about this, and we pretended as if we couldn't hear the warnings. The warnings have been there, and we have been told about these things. Fela sang about these things. Bob Marley has sang about these things. Many great minds have sung about these things, but we just refuse to hear them. This is why I asked the question: how do we recognize when our communities are being sabotaged? And how do we go on to create people that encourage the prosperity of that society? In other words, create heroes. Because Nigeria barely has any heroes right now, does it? How many heroes do you have in the Black community today? It's very rare. Even when people love them. But you can bet, if you objectively look at the accomplishments, you ask a few questions. The great ones, I'm talking about national, societal, that people that have made national and societal contributions to transform a nation. I can't seem to find one on the continent. Even Mandela, that was released from prison, one would be hard pressed to even call him a hero given the results you are seeing today on the ground. So we seriously need to ask ourselves some big questions. Big question. It might sound, I don't care, because personally, it's not about being popular. It's about being relevant to the issues of the day. It's not about. It's not about whether a lot of people get it. It's about the more people that get it, the better. So I did list some things that one can be able to can use to recognize sabotage. And if you learn to follow these rules, it will be easy for you. It will be easy. It's like a dummy's guide to detecting people that are sabotaging your society. Sometimes these saboteurs don't know they are doing it. Let's understand this. Sometimes they don't even know they are doing it. But it doesn't mean it's any less a sabotage to your society. So I have some list, and I'm sure the list is not exhaustive. There's a lot more to be added to it. And I cannot say that they are in order of priority, but you will know you see these things within your nations once you hear them. You will know you see them all the time. This is present in almost every African nation and definitely present in Nigeria. So I'll start with the first one. The first one is insecurity. If you find that your nation is not being protected, that's your first sign that your leaders are sabotaging you. No self-respecting nation remains undefended, not secure for its citizens. Even when there is relative peace, if you notice that your security posture, that's in other words, the number of police you have, the number of secret service, the number of military you have, and the technology and the welfare of those institutions are not well taken care of, know that some other person is responsible for it. That's in other words, not your nation. Some other society, some other group is responsible for it. And if they are responsible for it, make no mistake, you are subservient to them. That is a sign of sabotage. Your children's future is resting on those people. And you can never guarantee that they will give you the best. Hence, why national security, societal security, however you want to look at the full security, all those things are vitally important. If you don't have it, that's your first alarm bell that your nation is insecure. And I must say, most of the developed countries in the world, they cannot complain about that. Most of them have got those sorted out. But in Nigeria, it is very clear that they've not done any of those. As many of the black countries in the world have not done that. So that's one alarm bell that you should see. The second one, I think this one you can recognize it too. All of them are obvious. Divisiveness. If you see your leaders, every time you try to hold them accountable, they bring up divisions. They create divisions, tribal divisions, religious divisions within the nation. That's sabotage for you. In other words, they don't want the nation to be organized enough to question them, to force them to be accountable. That is red flag. Or I don't care about whether that person is in your tribe. Don't care whether that person is on the other tribe. Plague on both of their houses. Both of them are sabotaging you. Because when both sides work together, you gain. You, the people, gain. That is just as simple as it is. Don't let your leaders divide you. Whenever they do that, you are losing. because you are not going to be able to hold them accountable. Hence, they get away with all kinds of nonsense that they are going to do to you. And that's one sign of sabotage. And we see them all the time. Anybody that asks you, anybody you ask in any society, what is their greatest problem? They will say tribalism. Like in Nigeria now, they will say tribalism. They will say religious division. They know. We know these things when we see it, and we keep falling for it. And the third one I put on the list. But before I go to the third one, this divisiveness is a very, very powerful tool that they use to divide, to sabotage a nation. It's very, very powerful. It's one of the most powerful tools in the toolkit of politicians and leaders. And because human beings do not necessarily understand their nature, they fall for it quite a lot. Human nature is designed to distinguish things. That's how we manage ourselves in this world. To say this one is blue, this one is white. That's how we are able to see. Hence, it's easy for us to divide amongst each other. It's very, very easy to divide people. The reason why I say this is because so that we understand now that we are susceptible to being divided. And if you understand that, maybe you will learn when they're about to trick you. When this trick is about to happen, you push back and say, no. I know the game you're playing now. I'm not going to fall for it. When you don't fall for it the first time, you don't fall for it the second time, you start finding out that, oh my, now I can see clearly. I can see beyond this divisive rhetoric that they are giving you all the time. So that is the kind of guide I'll give you. You want to recognize that even you are susceptible to being conned by being divisive. And if you know you are susceptible to it, it helps you guard that instinct within yourself and make you more immune to becoming divisive. So that is that. Number 3, when they keep taking instruction from foreign institutions, that is a problem. If you notice that your leaders are always listening to foreign institutions, no matter what the people think, be very, very cautious. Because many nations, if you look at the most developed countries, they don't listen to foreign institutions. They don't listen. I've been in a country where the vice chancellor, which is basically minister of finance or economics or something like that, he didn't listen to the foreign institutions for straight 8 years. And he defied them for, I think, 7 of those. And he kept getting results that is against their advice, that is actually beneficial for the country. So, but if you notice that your leaders, every time foreign institutions tell them what to do, they pick up their bag and they pick up their cane and they start flogging their nation into place, know that you have a problem. That leadership is compromised. That is one of the things you want to watch out for. If you go and you see your leaders come back home and say, climate change is the first thing I have to do, because even when you don't even have petrol in your car and your country produces crude oil, other people are running around with crude oil, but they tell you that the climate change is your first thing. When they should know that climate change thing that you want to do, that electric car, the batteries, you don't make it. The cars, you don't make it. You don't manufacture it. So they want to increase your dependence on foreigners. That's sabotage. When they tell you LGBT rights is number 1 thing, another sabotage. When your society is not ready for it. The people that created those, they created it for themselves, not for you. Why should your leaders go and take instructions from foreigners when it's not right for the people in your country? That's another sign. When foreigners tell you to float your currency, when you are not an exporting economy, red flag, watch out. They are about to do your country in. And you need to start recognizing it and calling the leaders out. As you can see, this video is not flashy. I'm not making it flashy. It's just very, very simple. Things that you need to do to guard against this thing. These are the kind of things I actually use myself. If you want to recognize when leadership of your country and your society is compromised, look at these things. You probably see it more clearly. And the more you start using this type of guide, the more you start becoming less, you become less tribalized. You don't fall for religious division. You start seeing clearly what should be good for your people, because your people should be the first. They should always come first. All those 7,000 kidnappings that has happened, those people, God, man, the suffering. Just today, they announced that I think 4 police officers and 3 soldiers were killed. Again, you just keep losing their lives. People are losing their lives every day in that country. And do you see the leaders reacting? No, they don't react. They will tell you that they are sorry, they are going to do something. They've commanded these people to do. No, 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 no. They're not doing anything. They are standing still, pretending as if they are doing something. So that is one of the stuff you want to watch out. If they start listening to foreign institutions every time, even when there is a rule of law in a country and that law says this is the punishment for a crime, and because of international organizations, your leaders don't carry it out, you know you have a problem. Because they are listening to foreigners. The foreigner can never mean the best for you. Never. No foreigner can mean better for you than you wish for yourself. No foreigner, and any country is always like that. You have to listen to your own. Nobody can tell you what is good for your own child. Sometimes they can advise you. It's up to you to take the advice. But when it appears as if they are taking rules from foreigners, that's when you know your leadership is compromised. So that is that. 4th one, running to foreign nations for health care. This one is one that seems to have flown below the radar for many people, because most don't understand that this is a problem. As a matter of fact, I think this video should be broken up into each of the categories so that people start knowing all these. Maybe I'll cut it down into a playlist that contains each of the various reasons how to detect sabotage within your nation, things that will compromise your national security and your well-being. If you see your leaders running to foreign countries for treatment all the time, you know you have a problem. Because no leader that goes to a foreign country where they go and operate on him, put him to sleep and everything, will put their people first. They will not put their people first. That is not a very good sign. Whether they mean it or not, they are compromised. Their judgment is compromised. How can somebody save your life today, then tomorrow you turn on them that easily? It's not that straightforward. The reason why they save your life, because you're an individual, might just be that they want to influence you. But then after they save your life, your judgment becomes compromised. Not to mention whether they directly even compromise you one way or the other. Some of the most developed countries in the world, they don't even exchange their leaders, even if they are allies. Some of them are even military allies. They go to war together, they fight with they go to war together and fight other people all the time. But yeah, they don't even exchange leaders for treatment. No matter how sick they are, they will remain in their country. Because that's a national security threat. It's just the basic stuff. It's basic. It's not enmity. It's just common sense. You can't reveal your secrets to foreigners because your people's lives depend on it. Your leaders should know that. And if your leaders decide that foreigners are welcome to your secrets, then you don't have protection anymore. All your secrets are in the hands of foreigners. And if that is the case, sabotage. And you should recognize that. Because when you recognize that, you'll be able to say, you know what, we can't accept this behavior anymore. It's enough. We can't. We just can't accept this behavior. If we need to build a hospital in our country so that you can all get treated here, do that. I've been here in the UK when I think it was Harold Wilson that wanted to he wanted to do some kind of memoir. You know, when he leave office, you write some book and you sell it to, he released it, and he wanted to sell it to Canada. That became an issue because they felt like that was national security risk. Like, why would you reveal all these secrets to foreigners? This is Canada. This is an ally of the UK. You can't even share that. And our country, our leaders just go and open their belly for foreigners to operate on them, and they come back. And many black countries the same way. Many of the leaders have died overseas, and they bring them home to come and bury them. Even, I think, was it Putin that even made a mockery of our leaders, saying that what Africa is a graveyard or something, that they just go overseas and they come to Africa to bury them. So that is something you want to watch out for. If you see your leaders going overseas for treatment, sabotage. Next one, number 5, pretending there is no threat to the nation or community. This one is another one. And this one, I don't think a lot of people know it. A lot of people don't know it. Most of the people have asked this question. You'll be surprised how many people answer it this way. If you ask them, is there any threat to your country? Many black African countries, they'll tell you that, no, there's no threat. Nobody's threatening us. We're just, all our neighbors are nice. You know, we don't have any threat like other people, like Israel, like South Korea, you know, all those people that have tensions around their borders. Most people will tell you the same answer, that they don't have any threat. So this is not necessarily only on the leader. This is even on the people. So if the people don't know, what chance has their leaders got? They will tell you there is no threat. That is a sabotage, because if you don't even understand that there's a threat lurking around, you've already compromised your society, because the threats always remain. It's like saying, yeah, there's an Olympics game coming up every 4 years, but there is no competitor other than yourself, because nobody is preparing to go and compete for that competition. There's always competition for power, competition for resources around the world. So any nation that is technologically and militarily stronger than you, or in terms of security, they are a potential threat. Let me repeat that again. Any nation that is technologically and militarily stronger than you is a potential threat. You can never rule it out. Because if the conditions are right and it leads to a fight, who do you think is going to win? They will win because they are stronger and military. So you have to always be preparing. It's always been like that. You can never take that for granted. You should always pretend as if there is a threat coming. Just like parents save money in the bank account, in savings account, because it's not because they don't like to buy things for today, because they are preparing for the day when they need the money for something bigger. Or, they call it rainy day, isn't it? Rainy day funds. So you prepare. There's always going to be problems in any society. It's just the way of the world. It's just the way. This is even fundamental, even in the animal kingdom. There's a reason why squirrels a squirrel will take nuts and go and bury it, because it's preparing for what comes next. And just how you have to prepare your people all the time if you want to ensure their health, their prosperity in this world. You have to ensure that. Hence, if a leader starts pretending as if you don't have any threat, that's a problem. You should know that and start thinking, if this guy thinks like this, that's not very, are they fully qualified to do this job? How can they think like this? And the truth is that I've spoken to people even in the military that actually think like that. But the truth is that you will not get the same thinking in many developed countries. Have people spoken to a civilian in a developed country that instinctively understood it? You don't have to tell them. They knew. They knew it immediately. One of them referred to their security forces as their immune system. That's a civilian saying that, not to mention their military. But our military and our people, they don't understand that concept. And it worries me that we live in a society and in a world, but our realities seem to be very different. The way we perceive the world seems to be very different. And this is why we got where we got to. This is why we got here, where a nation of 200 and something million people cannot generate electricity. We have crude oil, but we don't have petrol. That we are even arguing about it doesn't even make sense. We are even arguing whether we should sell petrol to our own our own country. It's like that's a no-brainer for so many people. Like, don't even start the argument. It should be a no-brainer. Everything your people comes first. Do you see how America does it? America is slapping tariff left and right on Chinese products because they want to protect their own. They want to put their own first. They don't play around. This is how nations behave. This is how healthy nations are supposed to behave. Just like healthy parents protect their children. So that number is number 5. So if your leader start pretending as if you don't have any problems, nobody is looking to attack you, flag. It may not be deliberate because many of our societies are used to it. They have generations of people that have been born now that don't think that we have enemies. You always have them. As long as you are eating, your children are eating, there are people that want to take some of that food and give to their own children. So you have those problems. I'm not saying you should be paranoid. I'm just saying you should be ready so that when you need it, you can protect the next generation so that their future and their prospects is protected. This is about a whole people. This is not about individuals or elites. All right, I'll go to the next one. Number 6. One of the areas you will notice in nations like this that are not doing very well is that the leaders don't tend to call their people to come together to do anything. They never marshal the people to do anything. They don't say, oh, this is what we need to, this is a mission for the next 2 years. This is a mission for the next 5 years. No, they don't have anything. They don't never do that. That's too much because they know if the people communicate and work together, they become more intelligent as a people. You know how a group, a team works together and they succeed in something. That team gets stronger. They go on to do greater things together. If you see that your leaders are always trying to drift you apart, not work together, you have a problem. I've been involved in a competition in Nigeria that did very well. Everybody that came to that commission was so happy. They were like, oh my God, we're going to be looking to do this again. It's really good. We're going to be developed. No, the next day they just canceled it. It was just canceled. No reason. They just canceled it. Boom. Wow, how dare you bring people together to come and innovate? How dare you? You can't do that. Another one. Look at the national anthem that was just changed to the one written by a British woman. Did our leader consult us to do that? No. Our leaders did not consult Nigerians. He had the opportunity to consult Nigerians and say, you know what? Nigerians, I'm going to give you a project. Everybody come together, bring your best musicians, your best songwriters. Let's put the whole country together from north to south, east to west. Let's come and write this new national anthem that is going to truly represent us, that is authentic to whom we are. Did this leader do that? No. That would be making the people work together. Why do that? If you do that, they will get smarter. If they get smarter, they will do greater things together. No. Sabotage. When you see that your leaders don't want you to work together, that's sabotage. In a way, but they are very good at doing the division part, which is my number 2. They are very good at dividing you, but never good at uniting you. I've seen it happen. Where people are being attacked in Lagos during the election, you see during the election period, there's tension everywhere. Do you see the leaders coming out to say, oh, let's unite? No, they will remain quiet in the background. They will wait for days And there will be tension in the air because they would rather the people get divided so they can get into their office. Whether they are used to it now, that's how they think life should be, or some people actually know what they are doing and create that atmosphere. Either way, the result is the same. It's sabotaging the society, and that needs to be spotted and called out. And you may be the one that end up in office tomorrow, and you react. You go out there and say, no, 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 this is not what we stand for. This is what we stand for. We stand for unity. Our people are not divided. Our people work together. We do this together. We have a lot more in common than we have this thing, our differences, that we need to come together. All these people that are causing trouble, we condemn them. And if there is any law that they've broken, they should answer. They should face the consequences of prosecution. But you don't see that most of the time. That is something you have to watch out for in your leaders. When you see it, sabotage. And once you start seeing politicians do that, watch out for them. They are compromised, whether they know it or not. And you need to, if you have the ability to speak to them, you tell them, you need to cut that out. That's not helping me. It's not even helping you. It's not even helping our leaders. These leaders that think that what they are doing is helping them. It's not helping them. It's just helping them in a narrow way. You know how armed robbers and criminals go and steal? They think, oh, yeah, that money is good. That money is good until the day the payment comes. Until the day they get caught. Until the day they end up in jail. Suddenly, it's not so funny anymore, is it? But the problem with this one, what makes this one more insidious is because when these leaders are doing these things, they don't see themselves facing the consequences directly, because historically they've not. In the last 50 years, there's barely any of our leaders that have been corrupt, that have done things to sabotage the nation, that has faced the consequences of their actions. But what they don't realize is that we are still part of one family. And when the entire family is not doing well, no matter how well they do, they are just a tiny piece on a heap of rubbish. Not on a heap of gold. No, it's a tiny piece on a heap of rubbish. If they cannot see that, sabotage. People that don't want the nation to work together, watch out for them. They are not helping you. Generally, when people work together, societies progress. It doesn't even matter what tribe or religion. When they work together with respect for each other, they tend to do better. It's just common sense. All right. Now I'll go to the next one. If your leader says one thing and does something else, that's the one that drives people crazy. That one, I think almost Nigerians know that one. Most Black community people know that one. And it's something that we all know. So before we go ahead, if you've not subscribed, subscribe to the channel. If you want to share it with people, share it with other people so that they can come and listen to this. Because what I'm saying here, I truly believe, I really don't like using adjectives like that. I believe it's actually important for our people to understand, because it's going to equip them in ways to be able to see beyond all the noise. That's how I do it. That's how I manage to see beyond what people are saying. I'm not welded to, I don't hate Tinubu as a person. I don't hate Peter Obi as a person. I don't hate anybody as a person. I hate what they are doing to our people. What I want to see our people do better. That's all. Very simple. And that should be the principle, the first principle of everybody that is involved in societal discussions and in people that are conscious on what they want from their societies. Your first principle should be about the people, nothing to do with individuals. Always about the people. And so if your leaders have this in the one when leaders say one thing and do something else, that's the one that drives everybody crazy. Everybody knows that. Like your leader is telling you, oh, austerity is the way to go. Let's go with austerity. And while he's telling you to practice austerity, He's going on to live large. And you know the worst thing about it all, not the fact that some of them do this austerity or cause chaos in the economy. The fact that they are living large is instinctively what drives people crazy. But the worst thing is if that measure they are taking doesn't lead to any positive gain for the people. That is the worst damage. Because let's put it this way: if a leader says one thing and does something else, but what he does actually leads to the benefit of the people in the end, people might actually forgive that leader. Because leaders that have two faces, that say one thing and do something else, they can forgive you. That's why they forgive Trump. That's why so many people still support Trump. It's not because Trump don't lie. Trump says one thing and does something else all the time. But because he gave them Supreme Court judge that removed Roe v. Wade, because they believe that he's going to do more things like that for them, or he's going to stop immigration, that's why they support him. Because his action is different from what he believes. You see what I mean? So sometimes it's not only about what they believe in, it's about what they do. Like what the current government is doing right now is damaging Nigeria tremendously. The logic behind what they are doing, I've not seen it yet. Because why would you remove subsidy and then float your currency at the same time? In other words, allowing people to harvest a lot of wealth from your nation. Nigeria has lost value. Our GDP has almost halved in just about 1 year of this government. If it was any other country, there will be anarchy. But the reason why most people don't see this is why I'm having this session. Because we don't pay attention to these signs. We don't pay attention to these signs that make you. I'm not an economist. I'm not an expert. But the reason why I'm able to see it is because I don't let the noise distract me from what is actually good for the people. Anybody that does something that I see seems to be targeting people and making their lives difficult, you have to call it out. You can't remove fuel subsidies and save money in one moment, and the next thing you go and jack up, flow the currency that depreciates the value of what you just saved. Now you have to subsidize the petrol again. You see the madness in the situation that we're in. So that's why I think that what our leader does and what they do, what they say, has to marry each other. If they say one thing, they have to follow through. They did promise that they are going to secure the country. They are going to recruit into the police, military, and all the rest when they will get into office. The current president said the same thing. In other words, they know the solution, but they don't do it when they get into office. And how many people have come out to hold them accountable on that? That end bad governance protest that was done, one of the key things they could have done was to point for point hold the government accountable, especially on security. The promise they made, they didn't keep it. If you just focused on security alone, that the nation is losing almost $50 billion every year on. If you just focus on that alone, not to mention the safety of the people, the reward you get from that, by now, the trajectory will be changing. Just if that was the only topic they went for that protest for, the topic will be totally different in the country right now. So we watch out for that. Okay, now, do one thing and say something else. Everybody knows that. Everybody dislikes it. And when you see that in your leaders, watch out. That leader, not very good. So now, the last one that I have here, obviously, like I said, is not the least, is in your education system. If they don't teach you to cherish your own people, if your leaders don't make it an emphasis to embrace who you are and your heritage, to value every strand of hair on the head of every member of that society, you know you have a problem. And this is present in, to be fair, not only in the Black community, it's present in almost all communities, but within the African community and Nigerian community, it's acute. It's really acute. I've seen videos of pastors having the devil as a black man and the angel as a white person, and is happily casting spells or prayer to vanquish the black devil. When you have that kind of mindset, when people are coming out in society with that kind of mindset and seeing themselves as some kind of inferior creatures, that cannot be right. That cannot be right. We all know about the Jane Elliott experiment of the blue eye, brown eye experiment, where the lady told the blue eye children that they were superior, they were better than the ones with brown eyes, that the brown eye ones are criminals, and gave them very bad impression of the brown eye children, and gave the blue eye children the idea that they are superior, they are more intelligent, and all the rest. After the lady did that, the blue eye children performance improved in the classroom. It started improving, and they started becoming rude to the children that are brown-eyed. So, and the brown-eyed children, their scores started coming down. Then when she reversed the experiment and told the brown-eyed children, you are superior, the blue-eyed children, they are criminals, they are low lives, they are, gave the brown-eyed children that the blue-eyed children are rubbish. Guess what? The brown-eyed children, their scores started going up. They started treating the brown-eyed children, the blue-eyed children as inferiors and all the rest. What that experiment showed was that the mindset matters to outcomes. And if your leaders don't give you the right mindset to develop and to see yourself as a flourishing and people that deserve to excel in this world, that is sabotage of the highest kind. Because that is chains that are invisible. You can't see it. You have to recognize that. And if you look at this list that I just read just now, how many of them is not present in our country? Almost every single one of them is solid in Nigeria. And that should not surprise you, because the outcome is clear for us to see. The outcome is there. And on this list that I put here, the UK insecurity, 0. UK doesn't have that nonsense. They are paranoid to the extreme. The UK divisiveness, they can be divisive, but they have hate speech law. If you get too divisive, you have a problem on your hand, they will throw you in jail. As a matter of fact, the far right leader in the UK, every time, the moment he opens his mouth, he's already ended up in jail. Number 3, does the UK take instruction from foreigners? No way, that doesn't happen, and they are doing fine. Number 4, running to foreign nations for healthcare, 0. If you try that in the UK, you have a problem. That doesn't happen. Their leaders don't do that. Now let me see which other one. Pretending that there is no threat. No. The UK pretend there's no threat. The UK, they are not even at war right now. They are thinking of conscripting people into the military. That should tell you something. Look at this list that I gave you just now, that Nigeria has almost 100 by 100. We are doing it. But UK so far has not scored 1 on that list. Now, let me go to the next one. Pretend that there's no threat. That's number 5. UK 0. They don't do that. They completely avoid that nonsense. Avoid calling on the nation to do anything together. That's interesting. The UK may score something on that one. Let me see. The UK hardly calls everybody to do something for the nation, really. I have to say that one, I think the UK maybe found wanting on that one a little bit. They hardly come together to do anything together. Everybody likes to do their own thing in their different corners. Scotland is doing its own. Even within England, you have the people from Manchester doing their own thing. Everybody seems to be doing their own thing in the UK. So, on that one, I would say, okay, the UK has that one a bit. What's that number? Number 6. The UK has some of that. Although you can argue that the previous one that I talked about, that they are looking to recruit people into the conscript people into the military, that's from the entire country. So you cannot say they are not asking everybody to come in and do something straight up. But you will say UK has 1 point there, so they are not perfect. Number 7, saying one thing and doing something else, like asking people to endure hardship while doing so. I must say, this one too, UK, UK is present for this one. Oh. UK, their leaders have been very, very. Look at Boris Johnson. He was asking people to, everybody was in COVID-19 lockdown while they were partying. You see what I mean? So you have hypocrisy sometimes in leaderships. And so the UK does, yeah, you have leaders doing that kind of stuff. I think Trump too has been found to be a little bit say one thing and do something else sometimes. So yeah, that you'll see within the UK. But in Nigeria, we know full well that that is solid. If you look at education, to cherish their own people, heritage, and whom they are, I think the UK, you can say the UK within reason, they are okay. You can look at how they promote their monarchy, everything about them, they promote themselves. The same thing with America too. And America, by and large, in terms of avoid calling on the nation to do something together, I think America does call on the nation to do something together more. America has a very strong patriotic drive. And this is why American citizens tend to see the US as almost special, something on the hill, they like to call it. So America scores highly on this one, security wise. But in terms of educating people to cherish their heritage and whom they are, I cannot say America is number 1 on that, because America falls a little bit short on that one. But if you look at the developed countries, on that list that I showed just now, most of them score almost 100%. Maybe on one of them or two, they'll fall a little bit. But in our country, all of them are solid. All of them are solidly present. And if you look at all developed nations, insecurity, rubbish. They don't care too much about that nonsense. They don't try that nonsense with them. Divisiveness, they tend to fight against that strongly, and with strong laws against it too. Taking instruction from foreigners, Jesus Christ, don't even start. Some of them don't even listen to the UN. Like the US doesn't even listen to the UN. The US is like, if the UN tries to prosecute American soldiers for war crime, that the ICC, that they have a right to go and invade Belgium, or I think wherever the International Criminal Court is located. So they don't listen to anybody. Running to foreign nations for healthcare, zero. Don't forget it. Those nations don't do that nonsense. Avoid calling on the nation to do anything together. You see, the America, they try to call on the nation to do something together all the time. That's one thing America is quite good at doing. Saying one thing and doing something else. I think that's present in almost every nation. And doing something else. I think many nations right now get crossed with their leaders, because their leaders will tell them one thing and do something else. That annoys a lot of people in many countries around the world. And education, to cherish their heritage. And I think most nations, developed countries, they cherish their heritage, to be fair. Most nations cherish their heritage. And in terms of, especially in the education system. But in the context of Nigeria, you don't see a lot of that in the education system, in terms of putting their people first, even in terms of religion too. They don't put their people first. So I will keep that as a way of us recognizing how some people do it right, and how most of our communities in Africa, our countries in Africa, even African American communities, Jamaicans, Haitians, and all the rest, have not done it right. And to be fair, the Haitians, Jamaicans, they are small islands. You can't expect them to do too much. They can't do that much. But the African continent, for the life of me, we've been really, really sluggish about this. We've not really marshaled our people. The African continent right now is about 1.5 billion people. We are the largest in terms of population right now. We're even larger than this. If you put Africa as a country, we are larger than India. We are the largest country in the world if you put Africa itself as a country. So we have not really marshaled our people. We have not really secured our people. We've not stopped in divisive behavior. We keep playing tribalism constantly. We keep running to foreign people for healthcare. We keep running to foreign institutions for answers to our problems, when we are supposed to be developing our own this in-house. So we do have these problems, and I hope this list helps some people regarding kind of, so that we can be able to observe when our nations are being sabotaged. The one other one I didn't include may have something to do with religious division. This is more relevant to Nigeria because of the almost 50% division in Nigeria in terms of religion. And I guess that goes under divisiveness. They use religion to divide us too. So it's something that we can guard against. That said, that is my list of divisive, they're not divisive, the list of sabotaging signs. If you see these signs in your leaders, watch out for them. If you see one, if your leader talk about security and you see them sound as if they are very, very soft on it, watch, that's one red flag. And I think if you see 3 red flags out of this list, you see 3 on any leader, don't go near them. If you see your leader don't care too much about your security, when your people are getting kidnapped constantly, red flag. If you see that same leader being divisive, oh my God, that's number 2. Start watching your back. Taking instruction from foreigners, okay, that 3, forget it, don't go near that leader, or don't touch that leader with a badge pole. If you see that 3 signs, that leader, you are done. You are done. Don't negotiate. Everything that leader does, in short, if you have any chance to vote, don't go near that leader. And if you vote for that leader, don't complain when the consequences come. So that is that. If you see your leader going to foreign countries for healthcare constantly, red flag. Because if he values your country, he will be the first to be fighting that your country has very, very good healthcare system, and not for him to be running overseas to get treatment overseas. That's one. Pretending that there's no threat to the community. That one, to be fair, most of our leaders tend to be like that. And most of our people even our military, some of our military people don't even understand that principle. So I don't think you should use that to necessarily judge people harshly, but you should understand that, okay, this is one of them that don't understand. I'm sure a lot of people understand this in Nigeria, but this is one of the people that don't understand that, there's a threat out there. And if you understand there's a threat out there, not just there's a threat, there's a competitor out there. You have to compete. You have to innovate. You have to develop. You have to technologically innovate. Maybe I should have included technology as a part of the list. If your leader is not advocating like a technological revolution in your country, watch out for that leader. That's something you can argue, because how can you see a country that has been exploited, technology has been used to decimate the country in the past, and when the leaders claim that you are now free, they don't make that their priority to make sure that doesn't happen again. In other words, they go on to develop rapidly technologically. But that doesn't happen in our countries. And we think our leaders are okay. They are not. And maybe it's us too. If you disagree with this, it's fine. But now that you've heard it, watch the signs. If I'm wrong, it will prove whether I'm correct, whether I am wrong. And if I'm right, it will also prove that I'm right. If you just watch the signs. Okay, I will leave that for now. And I would like to share a video about some stuff that I saw today. And this one is more like, how do I put it? An extra. In Nigeria, some people call it jara to this discussion, so that you get an idea of some of this. It might actually shed light to some of the stuff I just listed as a form of sabotage of the nation. If you see this type of signs, you can see there's this guest on a TV show that is on a news channel, and he was describing some of the issues that are happening in Nigeria. And I think it will be beneficial for people to see this. All right, I'll share it now.
I think it was yesterday we were discussing here that the GDP, Nigeria's GDP, has, in dollar terms, has nosedived. There is real poverty and there's poverty in the land. I think it is for the administration and for government to re-strategize its efforts to boost the productive base so that everyone, especially the low income earners, can have some respite we want government to, one would call on the administration to, especially, it's not just palliative, because this idea of throwing palliatives, it doesn't work. Boost the productive base. Be more sincere and cut the running cost of government, of governance.
FG spends 131 billion subsidizing policing. Amid lean resources, FG spends 131 billion subsidizing VIP's protection yearly. Of the 400,000 policemen in the country, almost half, 150,000 officers, are attached to VIPs and unauthorized persons. I think you should take that. I mean, there are other stories.
I think you just heard that. They said up of the 400,000, almost 400,000 police officers we have in the country, 150,000 of them are protecting VIPs. So in other words, you are left with just about 250,000 at most, maybe even 230 or 200,000. And now you see the issue that you're having within the nation. You have such a small police force for the entire nation. A country that is over 200, this thing, going to about 220 million by estimates now. And you have a tiny military. That if you take the military into account, then the military that is probably available to secure the country is barely 150,000. If you take everything into account, that is the situation the country is in. And you don't see the leaders reacting. Almost 400,000 police officers, 150,000 is protecting VIPs. I hope people are hearing this now. And you don't see your leaders doing anything in a country where we have a very high unemployment rate. You can't create a job. You can't create jobs in the security services. Security services, they provide housing, they provide pension, they provide all kinds of things for people. There are a lot of people that will embrace those jobs to protect the nation so that all this insecurity goes away. We don't lose almost 4 billion every year. But yet, they leave the nation like that. They just leave it. And you don't see that as sabotage. This is the most obvious sabotage, because instinctively, when you see violence being inflicted on your people, your first instinct is to protect them. So why are they not doing it? I'll carry on.
There, but let's just address that. Let's just look at that.
That story is quite revealing. Out of about 378,000 policemen enlisted in the Nigerian police, 150,000, representing, I think, about, that should be about 40%, are devoted to protecting VIPs and big men. It tells you the extent to which the Nigerian state looks at the common citizenry. The United Nations, I think based on United Nations recommendations, one policeman should supervise, we should have a ratio of one policeman to about 450 persons. So based on that prescription, we should have nothing less than 2.5 million policemen in Nigeria for a population of about 206 million. But we have far less than that, which is, and out of what we have, you are taking 40% for regime protection. 40%. This is besides DSS, besides other peripheral security agencies. So, which tells us that the Nigerian state is officially hostile to the citizenry.
Did you hear him? And I've been saying this forever. How our people cannot see this, that this is a problem. And this is why I had to read that list, because they don't see it. They don't see it. They don't see that this is sabotage. It should never be this way. No nation can tolerate this nonsense. How can your people keep getting kidnapped, killed? All kinds of nonsense happening. Your power, infrastructure is getting vandalized. Your crude oil is getting stolen. And you just remain. You pretend as if you don't see it. That is a problem. And our people don't see anything wrong with it. They don't, even if they understand that something, okay, this is not right, we are getting it down, but they don't see that this is something that their leaders can correct. They can correct it. They are refusing to do it. They can correct it. They won't even lose money by doing it all. And that's another thing people don't understand. They won't even lose money. This is why this man is saying that it's like the leadership is hostile to their people. Not just being corrupt or this thing, not doing their job or incompetent. It's hostile to their people. That's the language he used. I call it sabotage. I'll carry on.
To the citizenry. You want a police, and the amount that is even spent on these people.
131 billion.
131 billion. That's why you see, in fact, almost every policeman wants to go to that VIP section. You see them, they're always cluttered, fine uniforms, shining, looking robust. And, that's why they go anywhere, and to any length to ensure the security of the people they protect. And what we call on Asiwaju to please redress this. We should put more boots on ground. Because if you have enough policemen policing the ground, policing the territory, we will not have these issues of banditry and such. Will be generally addressed. I give you an example. In that report, you see that in Katsina, there's a local government that has just about 39 policemen, and out of those 39 policemen, they have only eight guns. Out of those 8 guns, only 5 are serviceable. So you can imagine if bandits were to come, how would they confront them? So I think the Nigerian state needs to rejig itself, especially in terms of security. We need more policemen. That we should.
And then to withdraw even these ones from where they are and do the real policing job.
Let's take a look at the Vanguard, our final national daily quickly. Is weighing in on the current downstream oil crisis. They're saying, look, protect the poor from the impact of petrol price hike. So the IMF basically is saying that, look, the floor pricing is not reflecting the true market dynamics, but they're focusing on the social safety nets that Nigerians can get. They're urging federal government to basically just accelerate and strengthen some of the programs that should protect vulnerable citizens.
IMF, they are speaking with 2 mouths.
When I saw that, I was wondering,
IMF is calling on the government to protect the citizenry or provide more safety nets. But it is the same policy prescriptions of the IMF
that has provoked this situation.
So it's ironic. It's a conflict of policies. I think what the government should do, we've always said it, between policies of free floating of the naira and removal of fuel subsidy, they are the policies that have brought us to this state, to this condition. You cannot free float your currency. No, even China is a managed float. Even China, because I think probably is in the Guardian too there, about our our exports. Exports, we've had an increased amount of the export process in dollar terms, that we now have a surplus in trade. Not essentially because
since depreciation weakens import, trade surplus hits 6.95 trillion naira in Q2.
Not essentially because of quality or content, but because of devaluation. So, like, a devaluation is supposed to incentivize and is supposed to stimulate exports. But in this case, it is not, because those who are supposed to export, those who are the productive base of the economy, is shrinking because of energy cost, because of insecurity. Farmers cannot go to. So what are you going to export? So it's just the few that are exporting now, because the value in naira terms is increasing, not necessarily in dollar terms. So government should not. So when people clap for government because we're exporting more in terms, or we have turned to the trade of balance is now in the surplus, it doesn't mean it's just because the naira has been weakened. It's almost useless. Look at the Benin. Just a few years ago, we used to laugh at them that with 1 naira you can get about 1,000 CD. Now it's almost, the city is
at par.
It's almost at par.
So this is Ghana.
No, Franco, CFA. CFA.
All right, let's go. Okay, let's go read you.
The co-founder of Budget revealed that Cocoa Research Institute of Nigeria had a budget, is budgeting about 250 million naira to buy motorcycles for solar street lights in Lagos, and other millions to provide motorcycles for people in Rivers and a number of other states. An institute that was set up to stimulate cocoa, to stimulate the production of cocoa in Nigeria, is now into street lights because our legislators want to divert money. This National Assembly, they're hopeless.
Easy.
What?
That is a distraction. That is off purpose.
It's off purpose.
What you're set up for, you're not doing it, and then you're doing.
You are providing street light, motorcycles, empowerment, welfare schemes to legislators. This is a way for them to divert or to divert money to their constituencies.
Yep.
Mr. Azikan, let's quickly move on to the UK papers that we have this morning. We have the Guardian UK, the Times. They have basically the same.
Thank you. So I've shared the video so you can see what I was referring to. As you can see, I like the analysis of that guest because he can see clearly that there are aspects of society that is not operating how they're supposed to operate. He gave the example of security. Then he talked about the cocoa, an institution that is supposed to be taking care of the cocoa industry and making sure they are outputting a lot of cocoa for the country so that we can be able to export and use it to produce our own goods, value-added manufacturing. Instead, they are spending money buying bicycle and stuff for people. And he's correct. They are doing these things because they want to use it as a way of stealing money. This brings me to one more item of sabotage. Obviously, I think this one is well known to a lot of people in Nigeria. As a matter of fact, this probably comes at the top of most people's determination of whether somebody is a sabotage. And I must say, I do agree with them. When you have your nation or your leaders stealing your resources, stealing your money, yeah, clearly, that's an obvious, that's a thief, isn't it? Every thief is a criminal. And it's obviously that person is a saboteur. And you want to discourage people like that from ending up in office. And if you have family members that are in office, don't try to encourage them to steal from the nation. You might not know it, you are actually impoverishing yourself. If the nation doesn't do well, it will come back to you. You might yourself be wearing shiny clothes. Make no mistake, the stench is still on you. The stench is still on you because you are still part of that heap of rubbish that our nation represents today. I'm not saying all our nation is messed up. Everything about the nation is messed up. Make no mistake, I'm not saying that. I'm saying the aspects of the nation that are supposed to be glowing and shining today, that is easily achieved by most other nations, we can't seem to make it work. We can't get power supply. We can't get good healthcare. We can't get good education. We can't get good energy source. Cost of living is difficult. Insecurity is a serious problem. Can you compare Nigeria to most countries? If you go to many countries around the world and you look at their infrastructure, the things they've built, what does Nigeria build right now? We barely build anything. So that's what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about, our culture and what we represent as a people inherently as human beings. I'm talking about the nation, the society itself, and we really have led that country down a very, very terrible path. How can 220 something million people share 5 gigawatts of electricity? How did we manage to accomplish that? It's quite astounding. If that was Olympics, we are winning it all. How do we manage to accomplish such a feat where a nation the size of Nigeria is generating such little energy? And it didn't alarm us 10, 20, 30, 40 years ago. 40 years ago, we were already energy starving. Till today, we are still energy starving. How is a generator that expensive anymore? Is power plant that expensive? Power plant that the Chinese are building like water every day. Somehow our leaders can't manage it. We have a problem. We have a serious problem. And part of that problem is because we don't know how to recognize it and call it out quickly enough. And this list that I have, I'm going to talk on this again, and I'm going to actually codify the list a lot more so that we can recognize them. I will make it something that I will be sharing regularly so that people can start seeing these things. Because for me, I don't know, maybe I think that maybe I may not be perfect, obviously, but I like to think that the way I perceive things, I don't see things necessarily the way people see it, and I don't fall for some of the tricks that they fall for. And if you go on many online platforms, and people are often talking about things that are peripheral, really, from my point of view, it seems like on a level that is not very consequential to the outcomes of things. And if you are not talking about those things that are consequential, what is the point of the conversation? It's kind of, I guess it's a kind of exercise just to make it through the day, I guess. That's what you can call it. But I would rather spend the time one has got in this life doing things that are consequential. I guess some people like to think that what they believe is consequential only has to do with the work that they do professionally, and the families and the relationship that they share with each other, which that one is very valuable. But just as valuable as those things are, to protect those valuable things, you have to have the relevant conversations. Otherwise, can you truly say you care for those things? You really want those things to carry on? If you like something, if you like your rose garden, you don't want cows or people to just run and destroy it. So you put fence to guard it so that that rose garden will remain nice and clean and scent smelling nice and looking good and not destroyed. So the same goes for the family relationships that you have, the cultural things that you do, the parties you attend, and the work you do. If you want to protect it and you want your children to go on to do the same and do better, you have to do the relevant things and spot these signs. If you don't fall for these signs, you are the society is less likely to fall into the hands of the ones that are not equipped for it. They are not equipped. You're not equipped to push the society forward. We've seen it all. We've had how many decades of it? There isn't that much left anymore. I just hope we learn from this. And I will leave it at that for now. But I think I'm beginning to get to a point where I will be coming up with this type of ways that I actually perceive the world, because sometimes it's hard for people to understand how I perceive things. They think, oh, maybe I have an agenda here, have this person to support there. All kinds of names they call me. No, I don't see things that way. I see things from the point of view of what is good for the society. It's just that simple. And if you look at a society and you say, I want the society to do well, anything that you see that might compromise it, you will be against it. Anything that you see that is coming for that society, you'll be against it. Whether it's division, whether it's tribalism, whether it's insecurity, name it, you'll be against it. And I think that's the way to see things. And in the context that we are in Africa, given the diversity that we have, given the religious differences that we have to learn to adapt and see this thing. These tools are vitally important, given that we don't even have any laws against discrimination. We don't have much protections. The more these tools are vital and almost invaluable to being able to navigate Nigeria without getting caught in some of the traps that have really done our nation and our society ill. So I will leave it at that for now, and till next time, we'll see again, and let me see what I can do to play us out. I'm trying, I will see if I can keep it light. There's not that much light videos here. Maybe I should find something lighter, but there is nothing that light. All I can say is, I guess these are grim times. Nigerians are going through a lot. I cannot be here pretending as if everything is okay. Our security forces are paying the ultimate price every day. Our people are paying their own ultimate price in the suffering that they're going through. And for what I gather, there was a queue in the petrol stations today in Abuja again. So yeah, people are going through it there, and they are making their sacrifices. But I've always said we shouldn't sacrifice for nothing. That is the worst kind of sacrifice. We shouldn't suffer for nothing. We have to make our suffering mean something. Fela sang, decades ago when Fela sang Suffering and Smiling. This is what it meant. We are suffering for nothing. And he was right. We've suffered for decades, and where have we gotten to now? Not nowhere. We are still smiling. In other words, he's saying you're suffering, but you're not getting anywhere. You're just smiling and you're suffering. You should be suffering for a purpose. And I just hope that maybe with some of this, I'm adding my own contribution to aid the process, so we start suffering for a purpose. There's always going to be suffering in the world. Even the world inflicts suffering on us, but we have to make it matter, so that the ones that come after us, their suffering is a little bit less, and their approach to the world is a little bit more grand. And we can't live like this. From what I can see in the world today, we are always walking around in some kind of invisible chains. Our people cannot travel freely. I just learned today that South Africa is going to give India and China 3 months visa to come into their country without questions, without visa. They can come into the country without visa, while South Africa is actually restricting the access of Nigerians. That is because we haven't done our due diligence. That list that I provided is there sabotaging our nation. Nobody will welcome you when you're bringing rubbish to their country. No matter what we like to think about South Africa, but we are not helping our case. We should do things to ensure we don't take insults from people that shouldn't be insulting us. And it's not only South Africa that restricts our movement. The rest of the world has been restricting our movements for decades. They've been restricting our movement for decades. They've been treating us like trash for decades. Our people leave the country, some of them vowing not to return again because of that list that I provided. That list has been destroying the vision and the aspirations of our people for decades. Thank you very much.
Africans come here. You are lucky. I don't know if you've seen one of our panelists. One of our panelists. And then he talk about move Africans away from Africa.